"Victor, get up, you're going to be late for school." My mother's voice echoed through the small wooden house. I groaned, feeling the weight of the tropical heat clinging to my bedsheets like a thick, unwelcome embrace. The year was 1960, and the Caribbean sun had no mercy, even at the early hour. "Mama, I don't think I can go today," I called out, my voice weak and trembling. "I feel so cold." Her footsteps grew heavier, rushing to my side. She felt my forehead, her eyes filled with concern. "Again?" she murmured, her hand lingering on my skin. "Let's get you to the doctor, then." It had been like this for days, an inexplicable chill that seemed to seep into my bones, leaving me shivering and feverish, regardless of the warm island air. My mother had tried every remedy she knew, but nothing could shake the cold that had become a constant companion. The doctor's visits were as fruitless as the prayers whispered over me by the priest. Their words of comfort were as empty as the test tubes they sent to the lab. "Poppy, I don't want to go," I pleaded to my father one evening, my teeth chattering as I clutched the blanket tighter. "They don't know what's wrong." He looked at me, his eyes weary from the same concern that lined my mother's face. "We'll find someone who can help, Victor. Don't you worry." The next day, my father announced that we would be taking a trip to the French island. I felt a glimmer of hope, thinking perhaps a change in scenery would bring relief. Little did I know, this journey would lead us to the doorstep of a woman named Madame Bernard, who would unravel a dark secret that had been cast upon me by someone much closer than I ever imagined. The flight was short but turbulent, the wind outside the small propeller plane howling like an angry spirit. When we landed, my father's friend, a tall, lanky man named Jacques, met us at the airport. He looked at me with a mix of pity and curiosity before ushering us into his car. The drive to see Monsieur Jacques' friend was a silent one, the only sounds the rumble of the engine and the occasional distant chirp of a bird. The house was nestled in a grove of lush trees, the air thick with the scent of blossoming flowers and burning incense. The door to the house opened, revealing an older woman with piercing eyes that seemed to see right through me. This was Madame Bernard. She had a stern expression that softened as she took my hand and led me to a room at the back of the house. It was unlike any place I'd ever seen. Candles of various sizes and colors flickered on every available surface, casting strange shadows that danced on the walls. The smell of herbs and spices filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of something musky and earthy. Madame Bernard spoke in a low, soothing voice, her Haitian Creole accent thick and mesmerizing. "Your Aunt Anita," she said, her eyes never leaving mine. "She no like your mother. She want to make her sick to take her from you. But she make mistake. You, Victor, you walk in her powder first." I was stunned, the room spinning around me as the truth hit harder than any storm the island had ever seen. The very thought of my own flesh and blood wishing harm on me and my family was a betrayal I couldn't fathom. But the cold, the unexplained illness, it all made a twisted kind of sense. And now here I was, in a room filled with the tools of a woman who claimed she could save my life. "Take off your clothes," she instructed, her tone leaving no room for argument. I complied, shivering not just from the cold, but from the fear of what was to come. She anointed my body with warm oils, whispering prayers in a language I didn't understand. Then she handed me a ring, simple yet heavy with significance. "Wear this," she said. "It will protect you." As she worked, I felt a warmth spread through me, the cold retreating like the tide before dawn. When she was finished, she wrapped me in a clean cloth and told me to get dressed. "You come back in 1 week," she instructed, her gaze unwavering. "We break the curse for good." Leaving her house, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The sun felt kinder, the air less suffocating. Yet, the weight of the ring on my finger served as a constant reminder of the dark magic that had been a part of me, and the battle we had yet to face to set me free from its clutches. Over the next 7 days, I tried to live as normally as possible, though the secret I now bore felt like a second skin, tight and unyielding. My appetite returned, and the cold retreated, but the shadow of Aunt Anita's betrayal loomed over me, casting a pall over my once carefree days. I could not look at my mother without wondering if she knew, if she felt the same anger and fear that I did. The day of our return to Madame Bernard's house arrived too soon. My heart raced as we pulled up to the house, the candles in the windows casting a warm glow that seemed to beckon me back into the fray. Jacques' grip on the steering wheel tightened, and I knew he too felt the gravity of what we were about to undertake. The moment I stepped out of the car, the chill began to creep back into my body, as if the curse sensed my impending attempt at liberation and sought to cling to me once more. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the ring pulse against my skin. This was it. I had to be strong. Madame Bernard's eyes searched my soul as I entered her mystical chamber for the second time. "You are ready," she announced, a knowing smile playing at the corners of her lips. She led me to a small table in the center of the room, adorned with a white cloth and an assortment of curious artifacts. "We perform the ceremony now." The ritual was intense, a whirlwind of chanting, smoke, and the pungent scent of herbs that seemed to burn my nostrils and sear the curse from my very essence. I felt dizzy, disoriented, as if the fabric of reality was stretching and contorting around me. And then, as suddenly as it had started, it was over. "The curse is broken," she declared, her voice resonating through the room. "But beware, Victor. Anita will know. She will not take this lightly." The gravity of her words hit me like a wave, the implications of our actions crashing down. The air grew thick with tension, the room seeming to shrink around us. As we left the house, the ring felt heavier than ever, a silent sentinel whispering of the unseen dangers that now lurked in the shadows of our lives. The journey home was quieter than our arrival. The warmth of the sun on my skin felt like a lie, the gentle sway of the palm trees a mockery of the turmoil within me. I had been cured, yes, but at what cost? A deep, gnawing fear grew in my chest, a fear of what retribution Aunt Anita might seek. The island, once a paradise, now felt like a cage, the beauty of the Caribbean a mere facade hiding the ugliness of our family's secret war. The story of my curse had taken a dramatic turn, but it was far from over. The battle had only just begun, and I was about to learn that some wounds ran deeper than the ocean that surrounded us. When we returned home, I couldn't look at Aunt Anita without feeling the heat of anger and betrayal in my cheeks. She came to visit a few days later, her smile as fake as the plastic flowers in her hair. My mother, blissfully unaware, greeted her warmly, her eyes not seeing the venom that lay behind that forced cheer. I sat there, the ring a silent witness to the hatred that simmered just beneath the surface. A week later, the first sign of her retribution came. Our chickens, once a bustling group, were found lifeless in their coop, their feathers ruffled and their eyes glazed over. It was a clear message, and one that sent shivers down my spine. That night I couldn't sleep, the echoes of their cries still ringing in my ears. I decided to confront Aunt Anita, the ring burning on my finger like a brand of accusation. I approached her house, my heart thundering like 1,000 drums. The curtains fluttered in the breeze, but no one answered my knock. The door was unlocked, and I pushed it open to find the place empty, a chilling emptiness that seemed to scream of her fury. In the moonlit room, a single candle flickered, casting eerie shadows across the floor. On the table lay a small, intricate doll, a twisted replica of myself with pins stuck through its tiny body. The sight of it made my stomach turn. This was not the work of a loving aunt. This was the hand of someone consumed by darkness. With trembling hands, I took the doll and dashed back to Monsieur Jacques, who had promised to help us in any way he could. His eyes grew wide when he saw the pinned figure, and he whispered a prayer under his breath. "We must be vigilant," he said, his voice grim. "Anita is not one to be trifled with." Together, we buried the doll in the soft, moist earth of the island, far from our home. The ceremony was quick and quiet, the only sounds the rustle of the palms above us and the mournful call of a distant owl. I hoped it was enough, but deep down I knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The nights grew longer, filled with the whispers of the wind and the cries of restless spirits. I could feel Aunt Anita's rage growing, a storm brewing just beyond the horizon of our peaceful lives. Each day was a battle to maintain the facade of normalcy while preparing for the inevitable confrontation. One evening, as the sun dipped below the waves, painting the sky with fiery hues, I felt the ring on my finger pulse with an energy I had never felt before. I looked up to see Aunt Anita standing at the edge of our property, her silhouette framed by the fiery backdrop. She raised her hand, and a gust of wind howled through the coconut trees, sending their fronds crashing to the ground like a warning. I knew it was time. The final showdown was upon us, and there was no turning back. With a deep breath, I stepped forward to meet her, the ring a beacon of hope and protection. The air grew thick with anticipation, and I could almost taste the electricity of the unseen forces gathering around us. "Anita," I called out, my voice steady despite the fear that clutched at my throat. "You will not harm us anymore." Her laugh was like nails on a chalkboard, grating and malevolent. "You think you can stop me?" she sneered, her eyes alight with madness. "I understand enough," I replied, my voice growing stronger with each word. "I understand that love is stronger than any curse you can cast." The wind grew to a crescendo, the air crackling with power. She took a step closer, her hand outstretched, and I braced myself for the inevitable. But as she reached out, a figure emerged from the shadows, Madame Bernard, her eyes blazing with a fierce protective light. "Your time is up," she declared, her voice booming like thunder. "The child is no longer yours to claim." The battle was fierce, a dance of dark and light, of curses and counter-curses that seemed to echo across the island. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone, and the ground trembled beneath our feet as the very essence of our souls clashed. Aunt Anita's eyes burned with a fury that seemed to consume her, her once beautiful face twisted into a mask of rage. Madame Bernard stood firm, her own power a beacon in the chaos. Her voice was a chant that grew louder and louder, the words weaving a net of protection around me. I felt the warmth of the ring on my finger pulse in time with her incantation, and the cold that had once been my constant companion retreated further and further. But Aunt Anita was relentless, her spells flying through the night like a barrage of arrows. Each one found its mark, sending shockwaves through my body that made me want to collapse. Yet, with every blow, the ring grew warmer, the love of my mother and the protection of the island's spirits wrapping me in a cocoon of resilience. The air grew still, the only sound the ragged breathing of the three of us, and then, with a final desperate scream, Aunt Anita threw one last curse my way. It was a bolt of pure malice, blacker than the darkest night. But as it reached me, the ring on my finger exploded with a brilliant light, the power of the curse bouncing off and heading back to its source. Her scream was one of agony as the dark energy consumed her, the light from the ring illuminating every line of anger and spite etched into her features. And then, with a final, defeated wail, she was gone. The only evidence of her presence the acrid smell of burning flesh. The silence that followed was deafening. The wind had died down, the leaves of the trees no longer rustling in the aftermath. I looked to Monsieur Jacques, his eyes wide with shock and awe. The ring on my finger had turned cold, its job done. Life returned to the island, the nightfall bringing with it the comforting hum of crickets and the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore. But things had changed. The shadows now held secrets, and every rustle in the night was a reminder of the battle we had won. I never told my mother the truth about Aunt Anita. It was a burden I chose to bear alone, a secret shared only with Monsieur Jacques and Madame Bernard. They taught me that with great power comes great responsibility, and that I must use the gift they had given me to protect not only my family, but the island itself. Years passed, and the curse became a distant memory, a dark chapter in my life that had shaped me into the man I had become. I took over the role of the village's healer, using the knowledge they had imparted to help others when the need arose. The ring remained on my finger, a silent testament to the love that had saved me and the strength that had been forged in the fire of betrayal. The island, once a prison of fear and anger, had become my sanctuary, the place where I had found my purpose. And as the sun set each night, painting the sky in a symphony of oranges and reds, I whispered a prayer of thanks for the guardian spirits that had chosen me and the curse that had led me to them. For without it, I would never have discovered the true power of love and the magic that dwells in the hearts of those who dare to fight for it. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this story. Please like and subscribe. Thank you,